Ivy Day in the Committee Room by James Joyce is the 12th short story published in the 1914 collection titled Dubliners. This realist and political fiction is set on October 6, during the early 1900s, in the Nationalist Party headquarters in Dublin, Ireland. This modernist short story is from the third-person anonymous point of view. Click the link in the description box below for more Dubliners short stories. Before we summarize the tale, it's important to talk about the historical background of Joyce's short story. Ivy Day symbolizes Ireland's ongoing struggle for independence from England, which began after Ireland became part of the United Kingdom in 1801. Charles Stewart Parnell, a political hero for Irish nationalists, fought for Ireland's legislative independence. However, he lost public support due to an extramarital affair, and in 1890, the Catholic Church pressured his allies to abandon him. Most of Parnell's nationalist supporters left, causing the party to collapse. Parnell died the next year, on October 6, 1891, becoming a martyr, and his followers remember him on Ivy Day, wearing an ivy leaf to honor him. The split in the nationalist movement weakened Ireland's independence effort. The tale begins on Ivy Day, October 6, a day honoring the death of Irish leader Charles Stewart Parnell. Several political canvassers gather in a National Party room to escape the cold, chat, drink, and wait for their pay. Matt O'Connor, one of the political canvassers, missed work and smoked in the Nationalist Candidates Committee room. Old Jack, the building's porter, tends the fire and talks about his alcoholic teenage son. Both work for Richard Tierney, a pub owner running for Lord Mayor. Joe Hines joins them. He doesn't work for Tierney and is suspicious of Tierney's loyalty to the British, despite Tierney's claim to be a nationalist supporting Irish independence. Another canvasser, John Henchy, enters and talks about the day's campaigning, but complains about Tierney's late payment to his employees. After Hines leaves, Henchy accuses him of being a spy for Tierney's rival, Colgan, a working-class candidate. Henchy speculates that Hines might be tied to British interests. He links Hines and the notorious Henry Charles Sir. Henry Sir was an Irishman and an officer in the British Army who supported the Irish uprising suppression against the British in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. Father Kean briefly appears in the doorway, looking for someone, then leaves to search for them at Tierney's pub. He has a reputation of being a black sheep priest for his disbarment from the church. Henchy grumbles that Tierney hasn't sent the promised stout, but soon a boy arrives with bottles, and Henchy praises Tierney for keeping his word. More canvassers, Crofton and Bantam Lyons arrive. Henchy talks politics, supporting Tierney's pragmatic view in favor of whatever will benefit this country, even welcoming the English King Edward VII in Dublin if it benefits the economy. O'Connor disagrees, reminding them that Parnell's National Party valued principles over profit, but Henchy responds, "Parnell is dead." Both Lyons and Crofton side with O'Connor, leading Henchy to also praise Parnell. Hines returns, and O'Connor asks him to read his 11-stanza poem, The Death of Parnell, which celebrates Parnell as a betrayed hero. The men applaud, briefly united in admiration. Now let's look at the major themes of Joyce's Ivy Day in the Committee Room. Ivy Day in the Committee Room reflects the sad state of Irish politics and the inability of people to stay committed to their beliefs. In the headquarters of the National Party, where Parnell once led a hopeful movement, a group of canvassers gather. They lack any real enthusiasm for the candidate they supposedly support and instead quarrel over minor issues. In December 1890, Irish politicians turned their backs on Parnell in a committee room in London, ending his career. Thus, the committee room links the men's aimless behavior to Parnell's betrayal. The men, especially Henchy, reveal their own inconsistent beliefs, showing they, too, betray Parnell's legacy. Instead of taking action, they linger on the past. The story opens with old Jack complaining about his son, hinting at how Parnell's political sons have also abandoned their father. The men wear ivy leaves to honor Parnell, but they are inactive or petty. Hines criticizes their candidate, Tierney, planting seeds of doubt, while O'Connor, who is supposed to be canvassing, stays inside to avoid the bad weather and even uses his campaign materials as cigarette kindling. The men are stuck in a loop of inaction and indecision. Henchy grumbles about Tierney's unkept promises but then praises him easily switching loyalties and motivations. Father Kean's brief appearance adds a religious dimension to this theme of indecision. He's a priest with no parish, hovering in the doorway without ever fully committing to one side or the other. His presence suggests that the distrust of beliefs affects all political and religious areas. Set after the fall of Irish political unity, the story paints a picture of a time defined by doubt and wavering loyalty. Paralysis and inaction lead to corruption and moral decay. The canvassers are working mostly for the money, not because they believe in Tierney, their candidate. Some openly dislike him, but they still criticize others for supposedly taking bribes from Protestant authorities. Some of these Hillsiders and Fenians are a bit too clever if you ask me. Do you know what my private and candid opinion is about some of those little jokers? I believe half of them are in the pay of the castle. Some even think Joe Hines is spying for Tierney's opponent. Gossip is a key theme in Ivy Day in the committee room. As soon as someone leaves, the others start talking behind his back. Without inspiring leaders, the men, including Jack and Mr. O'Connor, are in it for the pay and the promised beer rather than any real dedication. Mr. Henchy spends more time fretting about the beer Tierney promised than about the election itself. With Parnell gone, there seems to be no real vision. Tierney is an uncontroversial leader, far from the passionate leader that Parnell once was. Mr. O'Connor and his fellow canvassers are more focused on getting paid, and old Jack has family concerns, but their main tension is over an upcoming visit from England's King Edward VII. Mr. Hines, a passionate nationalist, is shown by his ivy lapel pin and his poem honoring Parnell, fears Tierney will welcome the king, which he sees as betraying Irish independence. Mr. O'Connor and others would prefer the king not to come but aren't as passionate as Hines. Some think Hines might be a spy for Tierney's rival since his intense opinions clash with Tierney's moderate views. Mr. Henchy, on the other hand, supports the king's visit for the economic boost it could bring to the city, prioritizing Ireland's financial needs over nationalism. Lyons and Crofton stay quiet but seem to agree with Henchy's view. This divide in the room mirrors a larger conflict about Ireland's independence, the ideal of a free Ireland versus the practical benefits of English economic support. Parnell's legacy is another debatable topic for the canvassers. Mr. Lyons is critical of Parnell's moral choices, though he disapproves of the king's morals as well. Most of the others, however, respect Parnell. Mr. Hines reads a poem about Parnell's death, portraying him as a hero and uniting the men in their shared love for Ireland, despite their differences. The story's ending advocates for mutual respect in political debates, acknowledging that everyone in the room, despite varied views, wants what's best for Ireland. After Hines's reading, the men sit silently, feeling a mixture of respect and guilt. Hines's poem calls for the revival of Parnell's spirit, but the men realize they are not the ones to lead such a cause. Instead, they will likely continue to gather passively each year, wearing their ivy but lacking any real conviction. Do subscribe for more Dubliners stories.